Welcome to Guys Like Us, the podcast where Mark and I really want to make an impact and maybe leave some legacy.
That is better than mine yesterday.
As we discussed the other day.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm great. We're sitting here in a community podcast studio in 180 Orchard Street, right?
Yeah.
In the Lower East Side.
What a cool place to be.
Yeah, that your wife Vera found for us because we were so useless with our mics that she gave up and it's like, guys, you need to find this. And we are here to record our first episode on business topics. And we chose the fun topic of networking.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see first of all if we can record properly here, but we think we do. We did a bit of a trial run. So it's going to be about networking, but how was your morning? I mean, just to check in quickly with you.
It was great. It was for the first morning since you've been here. I woke up perfectly fine. I felt great. My vitals were high.
Mine too. Like I was green. I was 81.
I was 84. Yeah.
Streber. But I think it's also, and we're going to do an episode on that. It's also when you abuse your body for a while, basically the baseline drops. So then when you abuse it a little bit less, it thinks you are like on high performance. But if you had not drank for 2 weeks and drank like we did yesterday, we would be in the red. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all relative.
You know what I mean? Thank you as always for just, bursting my bubble. I thought I was like, you can never get away with it, can you? That's just it.
It is. I know it is. It is. You know what I did this morning?
What? Tell me.
I went for a run in Central Park. And it was amazing. It's the third time now that I've done it. The last 3 times, every time I managed, and it's unbelievable. Yeah. So beautiful.
Best park in the world, I think. Just epic.
Such a New York thing to say, but it's not bad. I mean, you know
what it is? It's just because the city is so intense. It's the one release valve.
But it was busy, man. I mean, listen, there were so many people running. It was quite fun, actually. Summer. And I was so slow that everyone was passing me, so you get to see a lot of people.
That's for sure. All the a feast of delights.
Right? No, it was really, really nice. It was really, and the views are insane. And weather like this today, like a kind of an Indian summer type of day, beautiful. Blue skies, the skyline. I mean.
Hard to beat. It's funny. I try to get a little bit of a workout in, but it's always so hard. I don't know about you, but if you don't start right away, your workout, I just find you're just fucked. Like if I don't get up and just go, then the phone calls come, the messages come, I get distracted, etc. I want to sneak down, and it just doesn't work. Then you feel irresponsible. So I'm living through you. Let's put it that way.
I know, but let me just do
something. Okay, thank you. Even better.
Sorry, guys. I mean, Mark is a little bit like a bit of a baby that sometimes you have to do shit. Mark's been really pissed with me. I mean, he doesn't tell me he's too good of a friend, but
I would love to throw this bottle at his head. Actually, is this recording?
Because first of all, before we came here, he wanted to show me some dive bar and have a whatever. I didn't want to do this because I wanted to be very Austrian and be here on time.
That's first of all. I mean, you're half telling the story. I mean, the first part, you're like, absolutely, let's do it. And then let's do a shot. And then you talked about how you have big plans to fly a kite and keep that kite flying into dinner and beyond, right? And so I wasn't
and
sure.
And then you were writing an email for 10 minutes and then we got late. And then it's priorities, man. It's priorities.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Actually, it is priorities. Thank you for distilling the priorities for us, because yours is being on time and mine's fun, and so.
Yeah, but good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, can we start?
Yeah, we can start.
We're getting a bit like an older couple bickering around. It's like this guys might be the end of exactly. Of guys like us.
It's only 4 days together, exactly in person. That's
exactly. We should do the next one on couple thing.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I have experience with that too.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Well,
yeah,
the Jungian and
Oh, we
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a few things that could be interesting. You know, you have to listen to each other until one
I think
thought
you've been
is
to a
finished,
graduate school in that, at
then
least.
reflecting upon, everything you read. Okay, screw this. Networking.
Hmm.
How do we get to this topic? How do we get to this topic? Bec-
Probably we're distilling what are the things that most annoy us in our in leadership in our jobs, and or most annoyed us initially, maybe. And I imagine networking must have been top of the list.
I think networking is a
The
huge word, right?
It's the forced social interaction, correct?
Go ahead.
No, no, no.
Go, no, 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 go ahead.
I was
What's
just
on
thinking
your mind?
why is it a topic in the first place? I think because it makes people uncomfortable, right? A lot of people are just uncomfortable with it because it's really like it feels like inauthentic human interaction where I'm supposed to meet a bunch of people, find some shared interests, hopefully, and then, maybe we can do some business together down the line or something. It's just a very challenging, I think, especially for, well, for introverts, especially even for extroverts, it feels very like it could be very forced, right? As an interaction.
Yeah, that's all. I fully agree, and we should go into this. But maybe before we do, a network, right? I mean,
Mm,
why? What is a network for you in a business context? And I remember you telling me the other day that you really felt your network was coming alive, for a certain project or topic.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so what if you say, I mean, let's, would you consider yourself having a good network?
Yes.
Okay. And what does that mean?
I see it as a collective of interesting and successful. It doesn't necessarily have to be both, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and or individuals who are having impacts, some type of impact in the world, and should I ask be beneficial to me in some way, right? I mean, I think like the purpose of having a business network, right, is a collective of like. Actually, I should say it this way. I wish I had prepared to write down a definition, but just on the fly, I think it's a collective of like-minded individuals with shared values, hopefully shared interests, who can be beneficial to one another.
Yeah. And isn't network and nepotism, or network and how do you call this when you I don't know, when you don't deal at arm's length, but you give, things to friends or people that you probably should.
I mean, nepotism is the extreme version of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's your children, etc.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
And
yeah,
I'm looking for the
like the
the correct
insider
word.
trading. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Or favors,
favoritism, right? Yeah.
favoritism. So where's the line?
Well, I mean, I think it's not about. I think you're choosing an isolated example here, right? I'm doing a deal. I want to give it to my friend's company, or I think my friend's company is going to cut me a deal. I don't think a network is intended by that. Actually, I get a lot of joy personally, and this took a while of bringing together. I think interesting people with some shared interests who would benefit from knowing one another. And I think when you transcend a moment in your career where I think you have a little bit of the confidence that you have knowledge and you have wisdom, you have things to offer, others, and you're curious, etc. Uh, I think that's an excellent entry point to start making connections, right?
Absolutely. I was just thinking what it meant to me, and
That's where I was going to go.
it's obviously similar. And I wanted to be a bit less philosophical about it. Um, it is a group of people, however big, and I think I like the shared values, and I think trust is very important.
100%.
um, and trust in the capabilities of the other person, right?
Hmm.
Because when you out there and you are looking for services or looking for people that you work with, right? Because you are on a project, or you're trying to, I don't know, buy a company, sell a company, I don't know, implement an ERP, do something where you need somebody else other than you and your immediate people. And that can also relate within a very large company, right? I
Mm,
mean, think you work for a huge tech company, right?
yeah,
And that's the same thing. You need to get something done. You need to know people. You need other people to do something. And there might be many out there that are available to you, but the cost of actually A, finding them, and B, evaluating whether they're actually good and you can trust them, and whether you are able to work together well, is very high, i.e. it takes a lot of time. So when you know, for example, in my cases, sometimes you know a good lawyer,
mm,
you go to him or her, and it's like, that's what you do. You work with him or her, period.
right,
Because you've worked before, and
right,
that's,
right,
to
right.
me, is a network. Or you can sometimes also just call someone up and ask, right?
Mm,
And get some information or get an answer very quick, not be charged for it. And there's a huge value in that, I find. So it's that trust that you have to build over time to have a good working relationship. And you and I mean, you worked in the service industry, and the best projects I always felt are when there is a lot of trust,
100%, of course.
between you and your client,
Yeah,
because they're not asking all the time, what are you doing? And asking you to record every minute and every task and all of this. It's extremely highly inefficient, all of this, right? Because you get in a defensive position from both ends. If you have trust, all these things work much more smoothly. So
mm,
to me,
mm.
network is a lot about trust.
Fair. Okay, but I think that's your evolved understanding of networking. Well, let's go back
Of
to
network.
a network. Fair, but let's go. This was networking was the topic, and so I think we've established based on what a network is. But the journey of building your own network, I think, is really it was really challenging for me at first. I found it brutal. Partly because I would go to these network events. There would be, 100, 150 people you didn't really know. My first instinct, candidly, was to go to the bar, right, to have a few beers just to relax, and then you were just,
Exactly the same.
you know,
You stole my story, but I
yeah,
100%.
right. People are coming by with the canapes and the appetizers, so you eat some of those, right? Then you strike up a conversation with someone else. You're watching other groups kind of form, and you figure, do I step into this one? Do I go to this one? Who looks a little bit interesting, etc. And it just felt like always a really painful type of experience.
Have you ever met anyone on one of those events that you didn't know before, hadn't known before, that was really like a pure networking effort win, right? So you went to conference, to whatever event, you ran into that person, got the business card, and then that connection helped you in any way.
A handful of times,
Yeah.
therefore, and much later in life, much
Yeah,
later,
but
like
but really connections that were
yeah,
kind of cold acquired.
yeah, yeah, like cold, like oh, you join one group. Oh, you should meet this person. Then you meet that person, and they start talking. Oh, okay, I'm working on this thing, and then suddenly an opportunity might spin up. It's happened. It happens rarely. You know.
And I think because, okay, networking, when I hear it, I still cringe, and I get, and like my stomach starts going funny, right? So I'm happy I didn't have that shot. Because I also remember in business school we talked about this networking, and even then we had those networking
God,
sessions, and
kill me.
some stupid companies coming in, and you had to network with their recruiters for some
Okay, so
shitty
that's
jobs
like
that we didn't
the
want to.
lowest of the low of networking, right? I mean, it was like
Of course it was,
yeah,
but we felt that we had to do it, right? In order, to be, or it was kind of implied. We never really did, not because we were so cool, because also we kind of saw I think, futility of all of this, right?
mhm,
But, that's when it started. And then I think, to me, when I started, really selling, or having to sell projects, and having to go out there to consult, there were lots of networking events, and you kind of get into the scene and you feel like you have to go there. And while I think, a lot of people perceive me as very outgoing, which I can be, in these very moments, I was the same. I needed 2 glasses of wine.
yeah,
And then, though, usually, to me, and that's, I think, something I've settled into right now and I'm very happy about, I never met lots of people on those events. I kind
uh,
of always found I either did or didn't. And if I didn't, I left also. That took me a while to leave and say, you know what? I went there. I wasn't successful, but I was also happy to pull the plug and go home and call it a loss. or or not call it a win at least. Or I found someone that I really liked, or that I knew already, and that I hadn't met in a long time, and we hung out, had a few glasses of wine or whatever, or water, talked, had fun, and went home.
Right.
Period.
Okay. So let me build on a little bit what you're saying. Um, I find you, and I've had to train myself out of this because usually my networking experiences went two ways, right? One is I would find someone I already knew inside one of these events, and all I would do is talk with them and drink with them, and everyone else, would come up to me, would make small talk, but I just really want to talk to this person.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, that was a cool hangout with, free beer and wine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Then when I started to push a little bit deeper, when I really was kind of alone, then I would make small talk to one or two. And if you connected well enough with them, I was like, great, job done. I've already made
exactly. Yeah, I'm done. Check.
yeah, exactly. I already made that social hurdle, right? How many like this isn't a Olympic sport,
From now on, it's upward, right?
Yeah,
Because you've done
yeah.
your minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes that could be on fire and you collect them, you get a bunch of people going, blah, blah, blah. But, then in the end, nothing ever really came out of that because either I was having a little too much fun afterwards and it was just like forgot it was nice, or they weren't really useful anyway. They were actually
It's just fun.
yeah. Then there's also the third, which is always the worst, which is what I'll call like the stage 5 clinger. That is, you meet someone who's not interesting, but they think you're interesting, and then you go around and you try to go to the different circles, et cetera, and then suddenly this person is still there. You're like, you're still there? Like, what's going on? They don't leave. And that's always been really hard. Later in life, I was able to say, nice to meet you. I'm going to explore a little bit, around and
And fuck off, basically.
exactly.
Yeah, very nice. I went to a conference the other week, and that's how this topic also came about, right? And it was just for a day,
Mm.
and it's a beautiful thing. It's little bit like the Austrian Davos. It's much smaller, but
What's it called?
Alpbach,
Ah, yeah,
the
yeah,
European Forum Alpbach. It's
yeah.
beautiful. It's in a beautiful scenery, and it's fun. And I went there just for the day, and I had no expectations. I signed up to 2 sessions, and I was there because I was joining a friend's session in the afternoon. And first session A was interesting, and B, I met someone who she talked to me and said, we went to school together. I didn't remember in the first place, but then I did, and a nice conversation. Would have never met her otherwise. And then, not because I don't care or she did, but we
Yeah.
would have never,
Yeah.
unless you run into it. And then I ran into 3, 4 other people I know,
Mm.
but I hadn't seen in a while,
Mm.
and I wouldn't have seen otherwise. And that's already kind of, to me, said it, check the box of saying that was worthwhile,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
met 4 or 5 people that otherwise I wouldn't have talked to. And who knows what and it was fun. It was nice to reconnect and so on. I think that the problem with networking is the expectation you attach to it,
Yeah.
right? The expectation that you, like, picture this: you are a young partner or whatever director in your consulting company. You're trying to sell something, and you're looking at your billables and they suck, and you're like, you try, I need to go out and I need to sell projects. Yeah, you do, but you should have done this 6 or 12 months
Yeah.
ago, because that's how long the sales cycle is going to be. And maybe on someone you've never met before, you met at a conference, the sales cycle is like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If that even works. So these things, and that's a kind of the problem. You have this, I find this urge to do something, right? To get out and do something, and but that's never going to happen. So
No.
you're going to be depressed after those events, and I was many times.
Yeah, I mean, totally resonates. But I think, these days, and maybe, I walk in with a lot more confidence. And I think the difference is that I believe I have something to offer in conversation. Back then, I was more the listener, I was the hungry person, and, you're trying to network, but you're not really sure what I could give people outside just listen and make some funny banter, and try to, be useful of some kind, right? And now I feel like when I walk in, it's more, I'm much more targeted and efficient with my time. And I've decided to shed a lot of the inhibitions that have always, kind of held me back a little bit. Or
What were they?
well, I think I hate these are all scenarios that will ring familiar probably to our listeners, which is basically, there's the the circle of people that seem to be having a good time. Do I interrupt and introduce myself and shake their hand, or do I let them have a good time? Or wait by the side for some thread of a conversation that I can just leap into. It's like, did someone say, uh, uh, you know, this, an insight from this book? I love that book, and you kind of dig in that way. Um, that's one inhibition, which just is social, right? It's just a social kind of, where do you interrupt and break through these kinds of gatherings, especially when people feel like they're so intent in conversation. Um, the others are, if there's a keynote speaker, for example, of some kind. I
Mhm.
used to hate going up to them, then introducing myself. How everyone waits in line for that.
Oh God, I hate that.
Yeah,
Never
and
done it in my life.
you had to say like a few smart things. Oh, I really like what you had to say. By the way, I work for this company. If you ever want this,
Oh,
call me. Oh, it's the
but
worst.
no.
Yeah, yeah,
To me, I have to say sometimes I also, it's like it was. Did I have my kind of elevator speech together right?
yeah,
And was I also confident enough to say, because in the end, that I always felt like when I was a consultant, I felt, and then that's what you carry,
yeah,
that you're always kind of the person asking for something, right? And not being able to offer. You're kind of there to do business,
yeah.
right? And that's not a great start.
No,
Also, that mindset is not a great start, right?
no,
If you just go out there and are like, I'm here because I'm Paul, I'm an awesome human being,
that's right.
and we can talk about whatever. And that's I wish I had known that, right? And not to. That's why I'm saying, take that end game out, right, of the equation, that
The
expectation, that
outcome. Yeah,
the outcome out, right, and
yeah.
just be to connect with people, because at the end of the day, and that's what I learned early, but it took me a while to kind of really bank on it,
Mm,
is you're only going to have a network with people that you like and that like you.
totally, totally.
That's the rest is not, to me. That's why I was, about the definition of network before, because I think a purely utilitarian network um, is not a very stable or reliable one,
No,
right? Because I mean, this whole trust and stuff like this, I need to want to work with you, right? Because I like you. I mean, that's why I'm working with you, because I like working with you, because you're a nice human being, and you need to connect on that level, I find.
I agree, and I think it. I I mean, we should probably do something like maintaining and growing a network. I think it's really
Absolutely.
helpful, which is, to me, much more around generosity and all the things that you talked about. I think, and really dedicating and spending time with those.
I- Yeah, no, and we should absolutely get to this. That's why I think it's networking, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever. Let's
yeah,
not get hung up with definitions. But so one of my big learnings was less is more, and
mm,
it took the pressure away from it.
mm,
And I've actually always been someone that had, fewer friends but very good friends,
mm,
deeper connections.
mm,
And also, when I went to an event, I talked to five, not 50,
mm,
but those five, I think I left an impression the other way around.
mm,
And if we met again, we were like old friends meeting again. And over time, that also compounds. And I wouldn't say I know everyone now, but I know a lot. I mean, and the other thing is, network is a compounding thing, and
totally.
unfortunately, it takes time. I think there are some people whose superpower it is to network, and actually not only to collect business cards, but to actually build a network.
Yeah,
That's work, and they can do that at a much earlier age. For the rest of the time, it's, in what kind of industry are you, how exposed are you, and how do you also interact with people, because
mhm,
every positive interaction is multiplying in a network, because people are going to talk to you about it. It's like a small snowball effect, and it takes time. And I feel we are probably at the peak or close to the peak of our network. Plus, also our network gets worth more, because, in a sense, because the people that, we're all getting into positions now that, that part of our career where you peak,
right. They
frankly.
grow, they get more successful. All
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, I think there's something you also said that I want to call out, which is this idea of, it's less is more, but also authenticity and being really clearer about your intention.
Yes.
And if you're just there to meet interesting people and tell yourself that, then versus land a phone number to follow up on, or that kind of thing. Um, Obviously professionally. Uh, it changes the game and how you approach, it's how you frame the problem, is exactly the door you'll walk into, right? Or the opportunity. And so, the just simplifying it and removing the pressure is always really helpful. I also think like, um, your point about five, you know, having five people in a broader kind of big conference is
Mm.
actually kind of interesting. And actually, I should probably try that sometimes because these large industry conferences, I'm usually just collecting, I'm fleeting kind of across a room and making passing connections versus really going deep.
But
Mm.
I think it also depends a little bit on, again, what is the outcome? What is your role
Yeah,
there?
that's true.
Because you are working for a company that is already, has a big name, and where you can follow up and where something can happen. And it's really just also, it is about being present there, and having a presence,
Yep.
and showing up, right? And that's okay. Right. But it's not necessarily, I would almost say, that's not networking per se. That's more business development
Yeah,
on a
that's true.
conference.
That's totally true.
To me, that's two different things, because these are the people that you're going to meet there are not going to people that you're going to call up, maybe because a relationship builds on that, but that's selling. To me, that's sales.
100%. That's a you're spot on. It's great to call that out. Well, let me actually share with you a moment where I kind of break down, especially like a potential, sell to like an
Mm,
actual meaningful network, or connection. Very often, like if I'm really curious about someone, and even though we might be talking about work or whatever, I might send them a note to follow up. It's like, hey, like it sounds like you have like an interesting life,
mm,
or that perspective on leadership, you just said was really striking. How did you arrive at that kind of perspective? Let's get some time, let's grab a coffee, let's grab it, whatever. I'm just curious if you're open. Let's do that. And I think, I'm actually genuinely curious. I mean, I love human beings. I mean,
mm.
that's one thing. That's a
No.
theme. I like and um, through that way, I think people are also. I mean, it sounds like it's a tactic. It's not meant to. I think people are flattered to be recognized, that people are listening, that you're that someone's listening to you, that there's an insight that you had that seems that they're curious about, and they'll give you their time. And through that, I think is a nice way of building, I think, more authentic and meaningful connections that you can grow a network around.
Yeah. If I want to draw a conclusion from my end to what we just said, right, it was about almost like, how do you build that network,
Yeah.
right? And I find that especially early on in our careers, there's way too much emphasis put on that networking,
Mm.
right? And that actually, that it's almost a transactional thing where that happens when you go to an event,
Mm.
and so on, right? But I in hindsight, I don't remember, maybe not a single is wrong, but if even a handful of connections that I really somehow coldly met on a conference, or on something that was labeled as networking.
Mm.
99% of my network today happened through, my work,
Mm.
business terms, colleagues,
Mm.
former colleagues, clients,
Mm.
collaborators, um, competitors, people that were on the other side, sometimes in even a dispute or something, but respected the way, we work together, and that you meet again because the world is small, and blah, blah, blah. That's my network today. It's
Mm.
really not the people I went and found while networking.
That resonates. I think, and the more, if I look at my professional network, if I had to draw out a theme, from them, and I think it's artificially large because I ran business development for this firm for so long. So let's just call it that,
Yeah.
as what it is. But I mean, I still think there's a theme around a philosophy of how business is and should be, and that it can be better, like among all those around my network, or they're at least curious about it, whether they're stuck in the role or executing it on it or not. And so there's a shared idea that kind of bonds us and links us together, which I think is really cool.
Hmm. Thank you. I really like that. And I was just thinking, and there's also a bridge maybe to maintaining the network. The
Mm.
best networker I know, we both know him, is a friend of mine. Um, he he's great at maintaining network, but he was also great at building networks.
Mm.
And it was not through going to parties or stuff, because meet so many people in the course of your career. Think of all the colleagues that you're never in touch with again. Right. And he was someone who generally, I think, also loves interacting with people that he likes and connects to, and just really also made that effort. And it's not, I think we have way more networking opportunity around us. It's almost comical that we jump to events where we meet, very strange people that we've never met, and before we actually harvest the potential of a network that we have around us
Mm.
through
I agree.
friends, colleagues, and
Yeah.
so on.
Yeah.
And where you already have a connection, it's like in business development, right? You always say even a lukewarm lead is better than is like
Yeah.
a
Then nothing.
hundred
Yeah.
times better than a cold lead. A cold lead is hardcore. Yeah, it's really difficult. Same with networking. I mean, if there's already a connection through whatever, go for that, and that person is interesting, and then it'll grow.
So let me ask you this. I totally agree with you. Do you like people in general?
Oh God, people always ask me. I'm not sure. Someone told me once I'm selectively extrovert. So I'm extrovert when I need something. And that might be true. I do
A lot of people are like that.
like people at times, but there's times where that's why I'm sometimes very happy to sit in the mountains and be left alone. Yeah.
No, no. Hmm. It's funny. No, I mean, I think the I'm obviously, well, I think but I love human beings. I mean, I'm always fascinated by them, curious by them. I mean, obviously, sometimes they annoy the hell out of me, but in general, I get a lot of energy from being around people. That said, I have a lot of empathy. Like, I mean, if some of my many of my closest friends, they're terrified of people. Like, there's nothing that scares them more than walking into a room of people they don't know. It's just the worst.
And yeah.
And so, for them, I have the greatest empathy and they, for those especially who have to build professional careers. I mean, that's like the hardest thing. And for those who are, you know, y- and I think for those who might be naturally inclined, I think then the trick is to make it meaningful, right? So,
Yeah, but you know what you said triggered something in me, because I actually do like people. I think I'm sometimes scared of people. I'm scared of the feedback I get, and it's something about getting affirmation or not affirmation, or
mm.
what other people think. So when I managed to leave that aside, and that doesn't happen very often. Still, I mean, now I'm way more aware of it. Beautiful connections happen and
Right,
beautiful moments happen.
right.
So I do actually like people. I think you said it right. I think people, I don't know if anybody really doesn't like people. I think people don't like what people could do to them, or the
Ah, that's
things they
smart.
think that they could
True,
do to them.
true, true.
At least that's the truth for me.
Mm.
So thinking about maintaining a network
Mm.
naturally, and again, I'm referring to my very good friend who's never going to listen to this, but maybe I'm going to make him call him out. This guy's amazing because he manages to go for coffee with everyone. Knows when everyone, we work together at BCG. He knows when everyone who's left is back in town. Blah blah blah, and he loves doing it. I mean, it feels so natural. And I'm not that person. I'm not that person at all. To me, um, I'm happy to tag along because with lots of people we know together, and he's always like, "Hey, this guy's coming to town. Do you want to meet us?" Ah, fantastic! But I would never even have also the bandwidth to handle all of this. I mean, it's insane. That's what I'm saying. If someone's doing it like that, that's a superpower, downright unreal.
Yeah, I may not be as good as your friend, but I mean, it's definitely a power of mine, and I will confront. Like, it fills me up. I love being in a city or a town, filling up my calendar, or when someone's in town, organizing something for them. Like it's
Yeah, I can see. Thank you for having me
yeah,
again and again and
exactly.
again and again and again and
Just
again and again.
but I will say, like, for whatever phase of career I am now, what I find really interesting is how much time I can. Most of the time, I'm on my phone, just WhatsApping, connecting one person to another, like then actually going somewhere, like manifesting something, going to the next thing. Like the mental nodes that are firing in my brain about who to connect with, who to talk to, what kind of insight is really interesting to bring to someone else, and vice versa, et cetera. And therefore maintaining this kind of um professional network right now is it's mind blowingly, and that's actually something that AI unfortunately can't really help me with because it's not that empathetic. But it's a huge part of my brain power. And it's unexpected actually because it drains me. When I was on paternity leave, I had 3 months of time, right, and I
Mhm.
was building special projects, uh, and doing a lot of outreach, etc. And sometimes I wouldn't leave my computer for 4 hours. I was just on the phone or on my computer, and Vera was like,
Can
"What
I
were you
ask you,
doing?"
how are you keeping track of all of this? But you must have a CRM built in your brain, or what's?
I do have a weird mental CRM. There's a bit of that, I I have a super big knack for remembering conversations
Hmm.
and insights. Like I think it's just if I spend time with you and I thought you were really interesting,
So I mean,
I I
yeah,
will I will follow up. And it's funny, like even in my own professional career, like a few months ago, someone reached out to me. He's like, "Mark, we had this conversation like 8 years ago, like way back when,
yeah,
and you sent me some stuff, and since then, etc. But like, yeah, maybe it's time to do something, And I'm like, God, man, that was
that's 8 years ago.
yeah,
No, but I think that's what you said before. I cut you off there, right? And Thomas is very similar to you in that
mm,
that you do things in your network, you just like connecting the dots,
yeah,
right? And by doing this, you're doing things for very, without an end, or without an end in mind, like for that very, you don't think of the outcome, right? You're like, I think this is interesting for this person. They should know this. They should talk to each other, and then whatever,
yeah,
right? And that's bringing you joy. It's
yeah,
something. Um, I have to be honest. For me, not so much. It brings me joy to connect the dots when it is a problem or a project that I work on. For example, like
right,
when I was trying to acquire this company, or when I'm thinking about a new project or company, and I think about this, and I want to know something about this, or I want to develop it somewhere. That's when my neurons start firing. It's like, oh, I could talk to this person and that person. They could work together, and I could hire her and him and blah blah blah. That's that. But I don't. To me, they don't fire just for the network
huh.
itself.
Mm.
Funnily enough, I think that's I don't have that gene. I guess
Can I tell you what's the most irritating thing?
no.
Oh my God! So very often I'll make a connection from like one person to another, and they don't follow up on it, and
I've been guilty of that too.
yeah, I mean, like, and I'm
I
like,
hate it if I do it myself, but I also
I don't want to out like how high profile some of these like people are bringing together, right? And it's somewhere in the newspapers, etc. And I'm like, so you didn't take that invitation? Like a few months later, I would follow up, and I'm like, no, no, oh, yeah, that's right, I have to follow up. But that was like really crazy.
yeah, the no that I
That's
hate
what I
too.
understood. But then I just tell myself, okay, we're just wired differently,
But the interesting thing you said, the reason I asked for CRM is because I many times in my life I tried to actually build that for me,
Mm,
because then I know what this is. So I'm kind of, I guess, despite what I was saying, I'm not out of this trap of I know now also for what I want to do, like find a company that I invest in, that we buy. You need outreach, and
yeah,
you need to organize that
yeah,
somehow. And I've been trying for months to write down who I should talk to. Uh, it kind of developed organically, to be honest.
mm,
Now, I still would like to do it because I think it helps you. But what really helped me, and that might also be something for the listeners, first of all, I started meeting people that I thought would be helpful. And it sucked the joy out of my life. So I stopped doing that. I then started to meet people that I would really like to meet, and it gave me joy.
mm,
And
it's
I
a nice
decided
difference.
for myself that there are so many people out there that play a numbers game, in the sense that are like, let's meet 2,500 people a year, or I'm just saying a number now, right? And something's going to stick. And that's a valid approach.
Mm,
And I was like, I can't do this. I don't know. I can't do this anymore. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm too lazy. Maybe it's not me. I'm going to just meet people that I'd like to meet, and that I feel, and that like to meet me. And that when I look at my calendar, I'm like, ah, nice. And not, oh, fuck. Right.
cool.
And I think out of this, it's much smaller. Then we're not talking 2,500, we're probably talking 100, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
just
fair.
in
True.
relation. But I think it's gonna be more productive for me, because I think those people are going to care, hopefully, and they're going to tell my
Goes back to
story to others.
authenticity.
And the network effect of this, to stretch the word, is going to be much bigger, and it's authentic, etc. And the same thing was true for my, LinkedIn outreach, that kind of activated a lot of the network that I didn't think of. Because I didn't sit down and make a long list, right? It just, it kind of reached, whoever it reached, and wherever I wrote, sparked something in someone, and then they wrote to me, and then we meet. And, that also worked for me. It's kind of almost an passive active, I don't know how you call it, outreach, but it really worked for me, other than the numbers game.
If that's helpful and true, I think, to you. If I could also offer like a bit of advice to some listeners, I think getting clear on your story
Mm,
is really helpful to think through kind of building a network. A, it'll give you intention, behind who you want to network with and why. But also, I think, is for those who find it really hard, just understanding a little how to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, where you're from, in a way that feels true to you, and also, I think, compelling for others. And the compelling for others part might be the leap, but I think that, everyone has some angle in. But um, that to me feels really helpful tip.
absolutely. And I was just thinking, maybe it's really rich of the two of us to talk about this, because I think at the end of the day, we are, I guess, not bad at this, and
No,
and
no,
and,
no.
and so on. And I think and yes, we are. I'm sometimes scared of too many people, and I don't like the feedback, and we both don't feel comfortable. But I think there are people that feel much, much less comfortable
Yeah.
than we ever did in situations like
And
this.
can I just say,
Yeah.
like, just to I don't want to come off as some master networker, because I mean, I just need to also share. Like, I remember a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I think it was Web Summit in Lisbon,
Mm,
and someone generously got me into the green room, back where all the big execs are. It was my role of business development, but I was like, I just put that hat away, and I was like, let me just do the networking thing. And even that, it was too much. It was just like an overwhelming, too many people, too much effort for me to do the
mm,
introduction, do the story, etc. And I felt exhausted by it,
mm.
and you also have to have the right mindset and have the energy, I think, for something like that, especially in these types of events, like things. And I ended up having a glass of wine and walking right out. You know?
Yeah, but I think that if we try to takeaways again from this,
Yeah.
because I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start with my three,
Please,
and then you
please.
can have some time to think about yours,
Oh,
right?
good,
All
good
right.
as always.
So my
Beat
first
faster.
no, but the first one to me is erase that feeling that you need to do network, especially when you're a younger professional or even older. That need for networking is bullshit. Your
Mm,
network builds over time. You do it every day in how you interact with
it's
people
true.
and how you are, right? And whatever you project and your behaviors are, it's like leadership is the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's number one. So don't stress about it. I think that, to me, erase outcome and don't stress about networking itself. It kind of builds over time. That will
Mm.
be,
Yeah.
connected to this. Um, and the third one is also about authenticity, and do what feels comfortable to you. Some people are totally fine only meeting two people, others are fine meeting 100, and there's no right or wrong. I think the wrongest thing you can do is trying to be or emulate someone who you're not, because that's never going to work. So, you know,
Uh,
that's my third one.
I'll have two. I'll break your consultant model of three. Work on your story. I think that's important to be clear
Absolutely.
about
Yeah.
the introduction, who you are and why. And the second, which is really essential, is the follow up. I think,
Oh, nice.
you know where, and making sure that that's coming from a place of authentic inquiry and curiosity, of real, like, meaning, and that you're curious to get to know someone. Um, that's an excellent way for.
And can I add on this quickly? I
Yeah.
think it's also, no, but it's also that on authenticity, that sometimes you just also, don't be. Like the other day, I wanted to get in touch with someone that it used to be a client of mine, He then worked at a bank. I needed to get into that event of that bank on that conference. He was the only person that was at mine. And I wrote to him, I was like, hey, listen, I know we didn't talk for 4 years. I really wonder how you're doing. It would be nice to meet at one point, but right now what I need from you is, can you get me into that event? And it was very straight up WhatsApp message. And he was like, listen, I actually left the bank. so no, but I would love to get, go for a beer with you. It's like, perfect. Thank you. So also be straight about what you need and want. Because what I hate is people that are like, hi, how you doing? And the fifth message is going to be like, tell me what you need. And I'm going to tell you if I can help you, want to or not.
Right.
And whatever. Right. So that's also just, you just got me
no. That's a good one too.
All right, man. Any Terminators today? Idiots.
I would like to shout out the venture capitalist behind this community podcast studio, which is pretty
that's
cool.
A Terminator.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess early investor in Uber. So they told us, and
for free, as long as you don't run it as a business, as we are not.
No, for some time.
If this is a business, it's a very bad one because it's negative cash flow, 100%. But lots of fun. My Terminator is also Central Park. I mean, I know it's not a person, but I'm like, every time it blows me away. It's just so beautiful.
Best park in the world.
I mean, it's like, amazing. Idiot.
Oh, it's really hard. Oh.
I had one also in Central Park. This is connected to with the bikes we talk about. This a dude on his what's it called, electric scooter.
Yeah.
Going at least 50 kilometers an hour, 30 kilometers an hour, almost running over me without a helmet.
Yeah,
that's my idiot of the week.
Yeah,
in a suit.
Gosh. All right. Well, I mean, the only thing I would shout out today has been largely idiot free, but we have you know what? I'm going to go real New Yorker here. The fucking cops, right? Who aren't cleaning up certain corners of New York City. So there's this one corner on my way to bring my son to school, which I now have to avoid because there are at least 4 drunks and junkies talking to themselves at 8:30 in the 8:10 in the morning, and they're there every morning. They gotta clean them up.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Here you go. Here you go.
Clean it up.
Another one. Clean it up, guys. Just one shout out. Sorry, I just dropped the bottle. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you want, get us at paul.fadinger@gmail.com or a comment on the platform of your choice. It was fun, Mark.
It was great.
We're going to repeat this tomorrow. I know you're on a tight podcasting schedule.
But I'm excited.
Whip through this.
Yeah.
You must like the whipping.
Yeah. Okay.
See you soon.
See you.